So I'm tabbing back to the game. Yeah.
Yay, it's up for me.
Alright, cool. I'm really happy with this whole low latency thing. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. It's a lot better than Twitch, because as far as I can tell, it used to be that Twitch has only, like, what was it? It used to have only, like a permanent 30-second delay, like, at the minimum.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't know, because I feel like it's a bit different for the Yogscast. I know the Yogscast is kind of like... I feel like they get special benefits that other Twitch streamers don't get for some reason. But
I don't know, maybe their internet's just... Maybe they pay more for their internet? Or, like, they have...
Well, they have better internet because they live in Britain, but, like, also... I feel like they get some, like, exclusive type stuff. Like, they can do... Like, for example, you know, during Jingle Jam they do, what's it called? They do the karaoke stuff, and that doesn't get, like, fucking destroyed. Which it normally would, by copyright shit.
But I think, like, if they're interacting with chat, you know, it does take a long time for, like, if they ask chat a question, it takes, like, 40 seconds for chat to answer.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's true. Because I mean, yeah, I usually watch them back on, like, their YouTube channels where they just post their streams and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't really tell from there.
Right. And you can only tell if you watch it through Twitch and you put up the old chat box.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I can't tell. But, like, I always find it funny when people on Twitch, like, more so than YouTube, because YouTube has, like, a low latency option. But, like, I find it funny when people do, like, stuff like, okay, you've got a minute to enter the giveaway or whatever, and it's like, I don't know if you guys are, like, still paying attention, but that's not a minute to them. That's 30 seconds.
Right, yeah.
Because, you know, when you say, okay, you've got a minute, then they're like, they get that 30 seconds later, and then I wonder if people are like, oh shit, why did they close it down after only 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Also, I'm not familiar with people doing that. Like, just because, like, I watch so few Twitch streamers.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of
like the giveaways.
Well, occasionally the Yogscast does it. Like, I know... I mean, it's not often, that's for sure, but, you know, it's just occasionally I'll see... like, Hat Films has 2 copies of Red Dead Redemption 2, or, like, a code for Siege or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I guess also, Pez does some giveaway stuff, like, whenever he can, just for the fuck of it.
Oh. Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, I feel like most, okay, maybe not most, but, like, the past few 13 streams that he's done, he's been giving away, like Final Fantasy Kai Arts, sculptures or whatever, or just, like, posters or whatever, shit like that. So, yeah, but, like, he's on Twitch and also YouTube at the same time with, like, some sort of crazy streaming program, which I think is called Restream.io or something like that. So,
Okay.
yeah, but not a lot of people. I don't know. I feel like a lot more people watch him on YouTube than Twitch, which is understandable, honestly. So yeah, but it's been a couple minutes now, so hopefully people start trickling in. So hey everybody, we're back. We weren't here last week, just due to, I guess, not feeling too well.
Yeah.
But we're back now, and luckily we only have... I know it's almost Christmas and stuff, so hopefully, I mean, I'm planning on finishing our little romp through this game by then, at the latest. But we're probably gonna do like another 2 or 3 episodes. Kind of depends on how long it takes me to get through this chapter. So that's the plan. Sorry we weren't here last week, but we're here now.
Woohoo!
So yeah, stuff should be all good to go.
It's like, ugh, whatever. I'm sitting down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how's everybody doing? How are you doing?
I'm okay. I feel like the rainy season over here has started.
Uh-huh.
So, like, we don't really... Our winter is, like, usually pretty warm over here.
Yeah.
Compared to what I'm used to. So, it, like, rains more than it does snow. So, which I don't like at all. I'd rather it snow because the snow, like, reflects the light.
Yeah, it makes it easier to see. Actually, it makes it easier to see at night as well.
That's true too, yeah. So it's just kind of been gray over here. How about you?
I'm alright, honestly. Nothing horribly wrong seems to be going in my life, which is a nice, change of pace from, a few years ago. So.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'm working on my art stuff, and it's fun, I'm
so far, life is tolerable.
Yeah, it is, and that's, for someone like us, that's a fucking blessing. So.
Someone like us.
Yeah.
That makes it sound so spooky.
Well, it is kind of
like
the end tale of spook time. Spooktober.
That's true. Yeah, we kind of like... because it would have been last week that would have been peak spookums.
Watch and learn, kid.
Yeah. But we did stream on Halloween. Was that the last time we streamed? I think so, actually.
Oh.
If I remember correctly, that would have been 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, you're right, I guess.
So it's like the 14th now? Yeah.
Well... I stand corrected.
Okay. I feel like it's really easy to get a preemptive strike in this particular section. With Saz and Vanille.
So are those like those glowy sticks coming out of their blobbalicious face? That's their eyeballs?
Yeah, well, I guess, well, some flan do have eyeballs, don't they? But yeah. I guess, yeah, they don't really have eyes, so they are kind of spooky, aren't they? By the way, since we're with Saz right now, what do you think of... I don't think we addressed this so far in the playthrough, but what do you think of Saz's fucking DDR poses?
I didn't even realize, yeah. You're so right.
I feel like it's kind of... I don't know, I feel like some people find it ridiculous, but I enjoy it quite a bit.
I feel like it's just in that little touch of, like, comical flavor.
Yeah. And the other thing is, this game is incredibly well animated, so... I appreciate it in this game. Like, this game probably has, like, the best...
Wii U.
Oh, yeah.
Cop slime.
These are the guys that, those guys with the, like, sirens on their head.
Yeah.
They're medics, basically, so if you... They're kind of a bitch to kill if you either don't get the preemptive or you attack somebody who's not a flanitor. That's what they are. Because they can just heal. They can't heal faster than you can hit them, but they're almost at that level. So it just kind of unnecessarily extends the battle, especially when especially like in this area, it's so easy to get a preemptive. So I would recommend absolutely going for it, just to make your life easier. Like a few seconds waiting for the enemy to turn their back is worth the minute or so, maybe 2 minutes of time spent during battle because you didn't get a preemptive. So at least that's how I feel about it. Yeah. What else was I? Oh yeah, so something else in the news recently was this game, or this trilogy rather, is gonna be on well, it's backwards compatible now with what's it called? With Xbox One, and it's got enhancements now apparently for the Xbox One X. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, so now it's backwards compatible if you have
Xbox One X.
If you have it on 360, basically.
Okay. Xbox One X. Xbox One.
Yeah.
X. I really can't help but like every time I see these little guys with the like helmets and stuff, like,
yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Pull over.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of are they're tough to take on more than the other ones.
Yeah. But now luckily we've got like Saz is strong enough to take him down pretty easy with Commando. And Venial has Imperil, which makes them weak to the elemental attacks. So as long as you stick to your debuffs and
then you do your TDR stances.
Yeah. And then
you're good.
Yeah, and then you're pretty much good to go. Yeah, so basically if you've got this game on 360, like a physical copy apparently, then you can play it on the... Where's the switch for this thing?
Hate to get lost here.
Do you know if you can play it on Xbox One? Xbox One X?
Yeah, you can play it on both. It's just that if you have a One X, apparently they made like what's it called? They have like enhancements.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like
I know we for sure have it on the 360.
Yeah. So if you wanted to, you could play this on Xbox One. Do you have like a special Xbox One or just
I just know we have an Xbox One. I don't think it's like a special edition or anything like that.
Okay.
We have a special controller.
Uh-huh.
That's like the MLG controller.
Yeah.
But,
on Nintendo, they call it the Pro controller. Is that what it's called for?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not the one that does
Okay.
much with it. But all I know is that it's heavy.
Uh-huh.
It's much heavier than the stock one. And like you can switch out the buttons and like the tops of the joysticks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think I remember you telling me about that when you guys first got it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now we're with Fang.
Yeah. Oh my god, there's so many fucking enemies here.
Oh right, this color scheme. So
yeah.
Brown. Those colors, I mean, seriously.
Yeah. I feel like it doesn't look too bad on the robots, but it looks particularly bad on the humans.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree to that. And a little bit of these guys too, but not from behind, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah, because from behind they look
they-
kind of like they've got a bunch of armor and shit, and it kind of makes more sense.
right, but when you look at them straight on, they're more humanoid.
Yeah.
Like, well, there's parts of them that look more humanoid, and so then you're like, oh, they look pretty dumb, like
Yeah.
the regular people in the same colored armor.
I'm just trying to find a good paradigm for these guys because dealing with 3 of them, it's so hard to get like to get one of them down during a preemptive because they've got so much fucking HP.
Yeah. Do they have any healing abilities?
No, but they do kind of get kind of bitchy when they lose a lot of their health because they start using this move that has a bunch of like cut, I guess. So like it's hard to do you know what that means, cut and keep in video? It's kind of a Japanese thing, but
Tell me more.
so cut and keep is like it has to do with interruption. I guess it has more to do with like fighting games and shit. But cut is like your ability to interrupt the target, and keep is your ability to stay like unflinching during an attack, I guess.
Cool. Well, speaking of Japanese, I didn't get a chance to tell you last week because we didn't stream. I met 2 Japanese families at work.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and they had like little kids with them, and I was helping their kids make a craft project. Because like that, there was a program for toddlers to have like a story time and craft thing, and so I was doing it. And I had noticed that the parents were speaking in Japanese, and so when I was helping the kids and they finished the project, I said, "Sugoi!" and and then one of the little girls went up to the mom. She's like, "Mom, I think she speaks Japanese." And so the mom comes up to me and she said, one of my kids said you speak Japanese. And I was like, "Hi." I was like, but not really. I tried. I wanted to learn. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, do you know konnichiwa?" I'm like, "Please, yes." But they were very like tickled that I knew more than just hello.
Yeah. It's I feel like that's kind of true of most cultures, is like they really seem to appreciate you, even if like you don't know everything, or even if you don't know a whole lot in general, they seem to really appreciate it when people try to learn their language.
Yeah. But it was, they were really, let's just say that tomorrow I'm going to see them again for the same program too, so I'll have to tell you if it just seemed like all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, maybe we could be friends with you," sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was like, "Oh, like let's bring you into our circle." So we'll see.
That's cool, yeah.
Time for another approach.
Do you speak Japanese? Hi! Nah. Meanwhile, I'm trying very hard to learn German, and it's very difficult.
Yeah. Do you feel like it,
But-
well, how much time did you spend learning Spanish?
Oh my god. Okay, what do you mean by that? Do you mean learning Spanish by like white people that aren't actually Spanish or Hispanic?
Well, just time that you spent like in
Like in high school and shit?
I guess so, yeah, because that's how I mean that's how I learned it, so.
Okay, so I started learning since 6th grade because in 6th grade, well, we went to the same middle school, and when I went, although we had a very large chunk of time in between when I took it and then you went in, but in 6th grade they were like, let's introduce you to all the like classes that are like away from the core academics.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to try every single like non-core class to try it, and then in 7th grade you get to pick them. And so
Yeah, that's not how it worked for me.
in 6th grade, everybody had to do foreign language. And during foreign language, half of the time, like half of the term would be spent on French, the other half of the term would be spent on Spanish. And then when you went to when you picked your 7th grade classes, you could choose to do a foreign language, and you can choose whether or not you wanted to do like a full term of Spanish or a full term of French. So I guess I did like 0.5 of a year in 6th grade with Spanish, and then 7th grade is when I actually started a whole term.
Yeah, that's pretty shit. Wow, I'm glad they did away with that by the time in the decade that it took me to get there.
Really? Wait, how did it work out for you? Like, for some reason, didn't think that they would have changed it.
Well, for me, what happened was in 6th grade, I think they just let me choose in 6th grade. I think that's the only, like the way it just happened. They handled it the way you would think it should be handled, is how it worked for me. So
you just pick your classes.
Yeah, you just pick them in 6th grade, and that's how it is for the other grades.
Man, I wish I had that, because they like made us take like like that technology class that is like but it's like an applied technology class where like you're working with a CAD for woodworking, and like plastic works. Like you put in a program to like cut out a plastic thing or cut out a wooden thing.
Oh yeah, so that's like I don't know. Yeah.
All I remember is that like you worked with a CAD, and I forget what CAD stands for, actually. Chat, help me out, because I really don't know. And it's not like I'm going to take my time to pull up a tab and figure it out for myself, because I'm that lazy.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we had to take home economics. Like, we had to do these like every quarter.
Oh, every quarter, Jesus.
Yeah, because it was a quarter system. So like one quarter was art.
Oh yeah, we didn't have that. We had a semester system, or like, so it's half a year and half a year, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's how it worked for us.
Well, I'm talking just 6th grade.
Oh, it was only, yeah. Well, we didn't even have that. We had semesters.
Yeah. And like choir was one of them. Like you could do art, choir, like this, like technology, foreign language, I think and home economics. And in home economics they taught you like, you know, how to sew buttons and stuff.
Yeah. Like
that. Like actually practical, useful shit. I don't know if they still had that.
When I was, yeah, so the way it worked for me was we had to take all those classes as well, but you just had to take them at some point for a semester.
Oh.
And then the other thing is, it was a little bit like high school in the sense that you had room for two, I think 2 electives.
Right, because you
at
had
like at
block
any time.
scheduling.
Yeah, so if you took a language, that took up one of them, I think. So if you were
Right.
taking a language, you didn't have to take a language as well. You could choose to not take a
Right.
language.
Mm-hmm.
In which case you would instead have a study hall, or if you wanted to take another elective, you could do that.
What? You had study hall option in middle school?
Yeah, we had it, but I didn't. I mean, I never took it. Most people didn't take it because most people were taking a language.
Uh-huh. Man, that was just like not a thing
Yeah.
for the eons ago that I went. Wow. Oh man. Okay. Well, that's fun to learn.
Yeah.
But in any case, going back to your original question of how many years did I take Spanish? Well, I guess the first full year would have been 7th grade, and I took it every year until my junior year of high school. So 1, 2, 7, 8, freshman, sophomore, junior. So like 5 full years and a half here because of 6th grade being like, you gotta try both languages to see which one you want to do, or none of them. Like,
Yeah.
so I guess 5.5 years.
Okay. Yeah, so what I did was I took, I had Spanish for what I suppose would be 7 years. Yeah. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's
Did you
math.
take it in senior year too?
I took it all 3 years of middle school and all 4 years of high school, so...
Oh yeah, you did. Oh man, then you're better at Spanish than me. La 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 la.
Well, I mean, you had to focus on German, and plus it's, since you... Well, I don't know, I mean, I feel like a lot of the people in our family are Spanish, and, you know, I'm here a lot of the time. I haven't really gone anywhere. Not that I couldn't have. But.
Like, as far as language learning, there like a lot of it is input.
You mean like how much you actually have to practice the language?
No, like a lot of it is input into you, like listening, watching. Like a lot of it is just being exposed to it.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess I was more, you know, how would you say? I had a bit of a step up because my family's actually Spanish, you know. So I guess it would have been easier for me. As opposed to somebody who doesn't have any Spanish influence in their life.
Sure, but like you're talking you kind of made it sound... Okay, first of all, chat, we are brother and sister, and you're making it sound like, oh, well, my family's different, so...
Oh, no, I was talking about the difference between me and, like, say, anybody else in the class.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like... Well, I kept up with my Spanish because my family's Spanish, and so you obviously didn't, and I was like, we're from the same family.
I can't believe I got the preemptive on this one, holy shit. Not that I'm gonna make use of it, but...
Yeah, I mean... Also, too, like, I think, our parents, like, figured out, too, that... Because with me, they were afraid that, introducing Spanish...
Afraid of what?
They were afraid that by introducing Spanish when I was younger, while trying to learn English, was like very conflicting.
Oh, that's not the case at all, apparently.
Right. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. It's like no. Like try to get them as young as possible and learning as many languages simultaneous as possible.
Yeah.
But you know, like this was back in the 80s. Like they didn't have any testing, or like there were no studies really that said like you should, and like it's easier to be bilingual or multilingual if you learn at an earlier age. But they honestly were like, no, we want you to learn English, and you know, later you can learn Spanish.
Yeah.
Well, I got fucked. And also too, like, when they're from a time when, like, when they came to an English-speaking, when they moved into an English-speaking community, it was kind of like not cool to speak your mother tongue.
I guess so, yeah, because I feel like that's kind of, you know, just the more you think about something, like if somebody's name is, for some reason the first person that comes to my mind is Filthy Frank, so I think like his actual name is Joji, and you know, he goes by that name now that he's a musician, and that's kind of like a cool name to have, I feel, which is fair.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It's a really cool name. But like back when he was Filthy Frank and, you know, doing just stuff on YouTube in general, he's like, you know, I feel like he would have preferred people to call him George instead of Joji, because that's what some people called him. I figured, I was like, well, I mean, he's got a cool first name, so why would he want people to call him George instead, you know? And I guess it's kind of like, you know, when you move to a country that speaks a different language, you kind of want to fit in, I guess.
Yeah.
So like to us, it seems more arbitrary, but to them it's probably more like.
We even have like relatives, like, you know, a Jorge that wants to go by George.
Yeah.
We have someone who wants to go by Lucy when her real name isn't Lucy.
Yeah.
Her name is Illuminada, and it's like, okay.
In my opinion, that's a fucking badass name.
I think so too.
But you know, I guess that's what I'm talking about though, because like I guess that's kind of a foreigner's thing that like when you're new to a country, you know, you wanna.
Well, also think about like the time too.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's also true, because there was a lot more. It was
like when they came over. Okay, so like when our folks came into an English-speaking community, that was like still civil rights time.
Yeah.
It was the 60s when they came.
Yeah, shit wasn't so cash back then, so.
Right. Not that. I don't want to make it sound like they had a really rough time or anything like that. And
yeah, they didn't. It's just like I feel like it.
I mean, that's just
saying.
another like over, like this giant blanket that's over your experience.
Yeah. And it's like something we wouldn't know because we've never been foreign. Well, I guess you were a foreigner in Germany, but there's a lot of people. Like Germany has a lot of English influence these days. So.
Yeah, I would agree to that too. Like especially American influence.
Yeah.
As far as like their music's like when you turn on the radio, you hear a lot of American pop. Or rap, or, you know, so, and I guess it's the whole, like, McDonald's tendrils seeping into every country kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess so. Or not even, it doesn't have to be McDonald's unless you were just being anecdotal, but, like, just the internet in general.
And metaphorical.
Of what?
Being literal and metaphorical.
Oh, okay. I mean,
so
it is true.
However you will.
It is true,
yes.
But also there's like just the internet in general, like especially YouTube and shit like that, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, I would agree to that too. Something that kind of the other day, I was like, how the fuck does this happen? Well, the internet.
That's me every day, yeah.
Well, the internet, and the thing was that, you know, I feel like teenagers nowadays, especially like those that are still in high school, or even like crossing from middle school into high school, at least.
Yeah.
Like people who use makeup Like, it seems that they look so much older by the way they use their makeup.
I guess I never thought about that, but I guess that's true.
And I was just like, damn, like, when I was that age, like, my hair, I was, like, frizzy, and, like, I had, like, really bushy eyebrows that, like, I was too pussy enough to, like, take care of and tweeze out and stuff. And I was like, how do these young girls, at least from what I've seen, people who identify themselves as girls, wear this makeup that is like sleek beyond perfection. And I'm over here and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, how come they're 15 and when I was 15, that was like not a thing? They're looking like more, like they look better, like more fashionable and like more grown up.
Are you seeing this shit? I'm just juggling these huntresses like it's fucking nothing. This is amazing. I'm just trying to get the debuffs on while I can, now that it's like a good time to do it.
Yeah. But anyway, and then I was like, you know what? It's YouTube tutorials. That's why these younger people look so good. Because they have access to that. When I was 15, there's no such thing as, like...
tutorials,
Or like, well, wait.
Or just YouTube in general.
YouTube, yeah. Because YouTube started when I was, like, I think, maybe a sophomore.
It started in 2005 and 6, I think.
Oh my god, okay, then I was much older. So, like, senior year, probably.
Yeah. Well, you had other stuff. I mean, not YouTube is like a fucking monster in itself, but you know, you had I remember you showed me a website called You're the Man Now Dog. It's not YouTube, just I'm talking about other shit.
Oh my god, yes. I forgot. You're the Man Now Dog.
And also Homestar Runner. I still love Homestar Runner.
Homestar Runner. Those were great. It was funny when, like, I didn't understand, like, I just never was aware of the perspective of people who watched Homestar Runner versus current internet consumers at the time. Because at one point, my professor was, like, an avid Homestar Runner freak.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, you are definitely like 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or like 10 years old. Like at least 10 years older than me. And I'm like, how do you know Homestar Runner? Of course, like, he was in college when it first started. And so then, you know, they, like, instead of it being a fad, like in high school it was for us, for college people, I guess it was like a thing, like, to identify yourself with. Like, he was one of those people that even bought like a Poopsmith onesie for his first child. Like, that's how hardcore he was about it. And he had like a Teen Girl Squad sticker on his laptop, his old laptop and stuff like that. So I was just like, okay. Wow, I feel really, like, thrown off. It's kind of like when you're learning history and you never realize that, because, like, I don't know how other people learn history, but at least for us, it's like we kind of go by country.
Uh-huh.
I guess, if we're learning, like, European history or something like that, and then, or, like, the States, and then you have European history, all, like, a course on its own. And, like, you never quite realize when, like, these two significant characters during a certain period of time were actually alive at the same time. It's like thinking, like, oh, I didn't realize Beethoven and Mozart were alive at the same time. and they talked about each other, or, you know, like, I don't know. It's a weird realization of
Yeah. It's
seeing
just like,
things line up like that.
yeah. I think for me, I don't know if I mean, we did do it by country, but like the whole organization was by time, so it was like chronological. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of the point, apparently.
Right. But, I mean, like, if you would think about it too, it was like, there, oh gosh, I forget. It was like something like the pilgrims came over when, like, some pharaoh was still in power in Egypt.
Oh, okay.
Like, that sort of thing. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, that kind of throws your understanding off a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know. Either I didn't learn that, or I had forgotten that. So. I don't think I can kill these Vikings in one stagger. Now, speaking of historical
Keep them up
shit.
There. They can't attack when they're up there, right?
Yeah, when an enemy's launched, they can't do anything. Yeah. I don't know if their ATB gauge still charges while they're up there. Oh, well, we got most of the way there, I guess. But now he's gonna go into supreme bitch mode with his fucking thermal discharge. Yeah, all these Orion type enemies have this like sort of elemental like, I don't even know what you would call it. It's like a thrusting attack, I guess. That they use at like 25% HP or something like that. It's kind of a bitch, but at this point in the game we have Hope in our team who knows Protect, so it's not really an issue for us specifically. Also, Fang is a Sentinel, so for our team it's not problematic. But when we were fighting an Orion with fucking Snow, and like, to be fair, he's a Sentinel, but he doesn't know how to heal himself. So it's a bit of a bitch. I always forget that, like,
let's get this over with.
When you're like, the best way to deal with that is like in chapter 3, I guess, where the party turns into Lassie. You should give Snow the doctor's code so that when you are fighting with him solo later on, everything isn't as much of a bitch.
Thank you.
So that's kind of the best method. As far as I can tell, but again, I always just forget to do it. I don't mind not getting it preempted on these guys, because these guys aren't too difficult. But yeah, if you're in like a battle of multiple enemies, and there's a huntress, like those female officers in the enemy party, you should absolutely go for them first, because they buff the fuck out of themselves, and they're pretty fast. So, and they attack like 3 or 4 times per turn. Oh god, which way do I go here? I should be fighting every enemy, but I'm not going to. Oh, I think the treasure's over there. Okay, I'm gonna go this way. Oh, fuck's sake. But yeah, so those
On your toes.
huntresses always, like, their first move is to just buff themselves. And Fang only has, so Dispel, which gets rid of buffs on the target. Dispel costs 2 bars of the ATB gauge, and Fang only has
Thanks.
a gauge that's 3 bars long. So she can't chain 2 dispels at once. So she'll just slowly cast 1 dispel after another dispel after another dispel, 4 times for 1 Huntress. And if there's multiple Huntresses on the team, that's going to be 8 dispels from Fang, and none of them are in a row. So she has to cast 1 dispel and then wait for the gauge to charge another bar, and then cast another, and then wait for it to cast to charge 2 so she can use it again. So it's just kind of slow. Yeah, so ideally, again, if you've got Huntresses on the enemy team, just go for them as soon as possible, because they're such a pain in the ass to deal with. And that's why the preemptive is so useful as well, because you can dispel them all at once, pretty much, or like during the stagger, or you can hopefully possibly kill them during the stagger. You might not be able to, depending on your setup, I guess. Like I don't have Relentless Assault on this in this Paradigm deck. Because I'm kind of hoping Smart Bomb is gonna be good enough. So I guess you might be able to take them down if you have Relentless Assault, but you'd probably be only able to take down just one of them during the stagger unless you really micromanage everybody else's chain gauge. Because you gotta, again, during a preemptive strike, you hit them one, like, you get them to 1 hit away from stagger, and if you don't take advantage of it, it's gonna go, that stagger bar or that advantage is gonna go, like, down the drain really fast. So you have to do either, it's in my opinion, if you can't kill the enemy in that first stagger, then if you get a preemptive strike, in my opinion, it's better to use that time to just keep the enemy juggled, so that, like, up in the air, so that they are not, so that they're not attacking you, and you can take time to either buff and or debuff, depending on what characters you have on your team.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, for this team, I've got Lightning, Hope, and Fang. Hope's a Synergist, Fang's a Saboteur, so during that time, the Bully Paradigm, which I think I'm using, which is Commando, Synergist, Saboteur, that's a good one to start with, because you can either stabilize the bar, the chain gauge, or just stagger them and keep them launched up in the air with Lightning as a Commando. And because you're not going to kill them in 1 stagger, probably, if you're not using a full, or even if you are using a full party of, like, Ravagers and Commandos, you might not be able to kill them. So, in my opinion, the best bet is to just... Oh my god, I really don't want to fight 3 Orions at once.
Yeah.
Or Vikings, sorry. Yeah, so that's sort of the way I've dealt with those. It seems to be a pretty good strategy, because, like, at the beginning we were really wasting time in that, like, first 2 or 3 battles in this area with Lightning, because I tried to go for the kill, but then I remembered that these these Vikings have a shit ton of HP, so it didn't really work out too well. And these Vespids are a lot easier to preemptive strike as well.
Yeah, they seem easier to take care of.
And if you use Blitz, you can do a pretty good job. Fang is probably going to stagger them with Slow or Curse. But you could just... And plus, actually, these Vespids are basically, they're Ravagers, so they're kind of like mages, they're kind of glass cannons. They cast Aeroga, or Cyclone as it's called for them. So they don't have a whole lot of HP because they're all focused on attacking.
Thanks.
So yeah, now this would be a good place for us to use aggression. And we should be able... We've only got half the stagger, the chain gauge left for stagger, but these guys are kind of... Once they lose their shell, they're pretty easy to kill. They'd be even easier if we had Saz and Vanille on this team, but we don't. But it's alright, because we still have 2 commandos who know smite, which does a lot of damage. Also, you can keep them in sort of a lockdown. You can stop them from regrowing their shell. If you time your attacks like I'm doing right here, so that each character attacks like at different times, because each attack keeps them like kind of under lockdown a little bit, because they flinch every time they're attacked without their shell. So yeah, so basically what I was doing just there is making sure everybody attacks at a different time, so that we're all getting a little hit in here and there to stop him from regrowing the shell. And that makes it pretty easy. So timing's pretty important in well, I mean, if it's like your first time or whatever, you might find that to be a good strategy. But it, timing is really important for like the sort of the higher level gameplay. What are we looking for here?
So I found a list of historical events that happened at the same time that are kind of surprising. So the thing that I was thinking of about like Egypt was that there were still woolly mammoths when the construction of the pyramids began.
Wow, holy shit. I'd love to see a woolly mammoth, honestly, because it's just like their depiction sounds super cool.
Yeah. There was actually some I think there was some found in our area.
Oh yeah, in the Midwest?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because like the Midwest was I might be completely fucking wrong about this, but if I remember correctly, the Midwest is like all flat because it was carved out by moving glaciers.
Yeah.
Is that right? Does that sound right to you?
Let's see.
And mammoths were like basically creatures of like cold places, pretty much. So.
The Brooklyn Bridge was built before London Bridge. Which I don't know, as someone who's from the States, like I always think that like the English stuff was made before the American stuff, so that was interesting.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting.
The Pueblo Indians were building Mesa Verde during the peak of the Crusades.
That sounds about right to me. Like I could get down with that. Not that I was saying it because it already happened, but
right. Karl Marx was a supporter of Abraham Lincoln and wrote him letters.
I think I remembered that actually.
I think that's wild because like people always associate Marx with more like recent times, like post 1900s. Yeah,
I guess so. I mean, I wouldn't know too much because I haven't studied a whole lot of recent history. I feel like a lot of the stuff I learned in school was like, well, at least a lot of this, with the exception of psychology, obviously. A lot of the stuff I learned was like stuff that came before the Industrial Revolution. I mean, I learned about that too, but I feel like after that, I don't know, maybe I did learn about it because like, I feel like everything after the Industrial Revolution is just way too fast for me to give a fuck about anything, like, because it's like everything's so fast, there's so much shit that's going on, that I just don't give enough of a shit to actually keep up with it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel, but...
The very first bicycle was invented after the first trains.
That's pretty, yeah, wow, that's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah. Queen Elizabeth II, and Marilyn Monroe were born in the same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's weird. Hawaii became a state in the same year of the first Daytona 500.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else.
Let me check what time it is real quick.
The time between the first airplane and the atomic bomb was less than 50 years.
Jesus. Wow. They really made use of that one, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, just real quick before we continue with that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you something that I found fucking hilarious. It was, Hat Films, it was either on Halloween or the day after Halloween. So around the last time we streamed. They were doing like their orc videos just because I felt like, I mean, they paid a lot of money for their orc masks. So they're like, well, I mean, we use them for our D&D shit, but we need to use them more. So, so I guess they're just like trying to
They
find.
look really good too.
Yeah, I think they look amazing. Oh, for fuck's sake. Another good tactic here is to just let these guys kind of follow you, and then wait for them to back up, and then... Because, like, this guy turned around real fast, so... What I can do is I can just... There we go. Yeah. But yeah, so they were doing their, like, orc shit, and they did, like, 3 or 4 videos about it. Like, just for the fuck of it. And so they were doing, like, it was the last video they did with them, the one where they have like a Ouija board, is that how you say it?
Yeah, Ouija board.
A Ouija board. I don't want to say Ouija because then I think of the fucking Mario cartoon.
Oh my god.
And then, well, more so than the cartoon, I think of all the fucking YouTube poops there have been of the cartoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were doing the Ouija board episode, or that's what they put in the title, and they did, I mean that's what they did, but it wasn't like the whole episode. But basically, they were like, so long story short, my favorite part of that video was when when Smith was like, so they were like trying to talk to dead people, apparently. So the first thing Smith says is he's like, I'd like to summon the ghost of Tom Jones, and Ross is like, well, Tom Jones, and he's like, the Welsh singer, and Ross is like, he's not dead.
He's alive. Yeah, he's on The Voice. He's on the British version of The Voice.
I found that fucking hilarious because it's like, I have no idea how they thought Tom Jones was dead. So.
Shame on them. Shame.
Well,
now
to be fair, it was just Smith, Ross and Trot actually. I'm gonna retry this until I get the fucking preemptive.
Oh, that makes me so mad.
I thought.
And they
really
did
funny.
that with a Ouija board, no less. You don't mess with those.
Well, actually, it wasn't a real Ouija board. They just drew on a piece of cardboard to make it look like a Ouija board.
Oh. Classic. I should have known better.
I don't know why I found that so funny, but I did.
Oh my god.
But yeah. Yeah, you can go back to reading the fucking history facts.
Well, those... Let's see. Oxford University was over 300 years old when the Aztec Empire was founded. There were no classes in calculus in Harvard's curriculum for the first few years because calculus had not been invented yet.
Oh, I thought you were gonna... For some reason, I thought you were gonna say, like... Oh, fuck me. Because calculus was, like, seen as some sort of,
Witchcraft!
Witchcraft, yeah. That's what I thought you were gonna say. Oh, fuck. I got the preemptive last time, but I fucked it up. Because I didn't heal fast enough. Despite
Spain was still fascist dictatorship when Microsoft was founded.
Oh, wow. Well, actually, that's pretty... Yeah. I feel like I can believe that, because Spain was pretty fucked up for a long time, so...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember, like, Hitler helping Spain with like military vehicles and assistance, like military assistance for their civil war and stuff. So.
Yeah, crazy times.
Anyway, that's all that I found interesting, so.
Let's see if we can... Oh, fuck. I was hoping we could juggle this guy, but... no. I guess it'd be better if we just got the stagger again. But yeah, but something else we could talk about is what happened last week. By the way, is there anybody in the chat?
Pops is.
Oh, cool. Did they say anything? Because I can't, I've not been paying attention.
It's that cool fight with the Thermodon sometime ago.
But anyway, something else we could talk about was what happened last week, I think it was. It was about it was the day that we weren't here, actually. Which was the whole fucking thing with Final Fantasy XV getting its DLCs cancelled.
Oh.
I don't know if you were paying attention to that at the time.
No, probably not. Tell us more.
Yeah, so basically, what happened was apparently they had this announcement, right? Which was about the DLC, obviously, for FF15. And they, you know, it's been a while since there's been any news on 15. Like the last time a DLC came out was like probably almost a year ago, maybe. I don't know. Something like that. And you'd think they were going to announce a bunch of shit, and they did technically announce a bunch of shit. But it was that everything got cancelled except for episode Arden. So yeah, it was just kind of huge news in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because like I was really not expecting that. After like how much, you know, resource they've put into that game, that like, oh, and then also, what's even more surprising than that is that the director resigned, like from Square Enix.
Nice.
Yeah, so like just seeing that, I mean, I can tell like he probably wanted to, given all the I mean, we could talk about that, but like in fact, I wrote a list of like things I wanted to talk about in regards to that news. Let me just refresh my memory real quick, because it was a week ago. Yeah, so I do want to say sorry to everybody who was interested in those DLCs, and anybody who was just a fan of the game in general, because this is like a really sad ending for the game, in my opinion. Yeah, okay, I'll just remember that. Yeah, so his name is Hajime Tabata. That's his the director's name, and he quote unquote resigned, but I mean, just based off of the news, you can kind of tell that it was partially him wanting to resign and partially because he was fucking fired. But they, like, obviously they can't, it would kind of look bad on their company, on Square, if they said, yeah, we fired him because, you know, or whatever, because then people are not only does it look bad for him, but also it kind of looks shitty for the company, because people would be like, oh, I mean, why would I want to work for a company that's so eager to fire its employees, you know?
Did they say why he was fired?
No.
Did anybody reveal that?
As far as I'm aware, no. Although he did have like a a goodbye message that was on the stream. He wasn't actually there, and I can he probably would have been like. I mean, I would have been crying if I was him, but
Gosh, weird.
Yeah.
I wonder what happened.
Well, here's the thing. So basically, it's a bit confusing because of clickbait and fucking this fucking really pissy fan base as well. Who likes to jump to conclusions about everything. But basically, there was a Square made an announcement, and obviously because they're a publicly traded company, this has to be public information.
Right.
That they quote unquote lost. Okay, so here's just for reference. Tabata, for 15, they made a new engine called Luminous, the Luminous engine. And then what they did after that was they wanted to make more games with this engine, so they made a new little studio in Square Enix called Luminous Studios. And that was last year. And so last week, Square announced that they had lost $33 million in profit.
Hey.
See your daddy now.
And that sounds bad, obviously, but apparently the way it works is, I feel like this is also the way it works in other other Western companies, but apparently, especially in Japan, when they say they lost 33 million, apart from potential errors in translation, what that really means is they're predicting that they're not going to make that money back. They haven't actually lost that money. They're just predicting that this year that money, $33 million of investing into games or whatever, is not going to see its way back to them.
Oh,
so they
weird.
haven't actually lost any money. In fact, FF15 was incredibly popular. Like, it sold a shit ton of copies.
That's so strange. I don't know.
Yeah, but obviously because of this fan base that likes to jump to conclusions and, you know, I mean, you know what it's like. But, yeah, people are like, oh, they legitimately lost $33 million when that's probably not what happened. Because apparently in Japan, and I feel like this is how it works in other companies too, or like other companies in the West even.
Didn't even have to ask.
That they say that they lose a certain amount when, like, that hasn't even actually happened yet?
Yeah, it's a prediction, basically, and that's how they announce it to their shareholders, because obviously shareholders need to know this information, because...
I think they call them futures. That sounds
yeah,
right.
I think that's right, actually. So I remember reading some Japanese people in the comments saying, actually, this is how it works in Japan. It's not, it's literally just clickbait, basically.
Because, like, I remember, like, when our mom would listen to AM radio, there would be things about, like, oh, corn futures are up by, you know, X%.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think that's
and that
it,
would
actually.
make sense to say that that's what it's called, like, calling it a future. So, I don't know. But I don't know much about that sort of business either. Stock business.
Yeah, I don't either. That's why I didn't remember that was the word for it. But yeah, basically that's what it is. So again, they didn't actually lose 33 million. They're just predicting that they're not going to make 33 million back out of investments that they made in... They didn't... I don't remember if they specified that it was because of Luminous Studios specifically. But you can assume that's what it was, because making engines is fucking expensive.
Yes.
So you
it could be something else, and that they're...
It could be something else, and they just don't want to say what it was.
Yeah. Or, like... use what's the engine called?
Luminous? Yeah.
Luminous? Like, use that kind of as, like, a
scapegoat, basically.
Yeah, basically. At least for the public eye.
Yeah. It could have been,
Because
yeah.
if it's something serious, then they might not want to.
Yeah, if it's something much worse than that, then it would be better off. they would.
But then too, like their shareholders should be informed about that.
They should be, but this is business we're talking about. As I mean, I'm not saying that Square is a particularly horrible company, although I will talk about why they're becoming less favorable, in my opinion, as a company. Again, nowhere near Konami, but not exactly far off, or you know, not an excuse for being shitty anyway. But yeah, but again, this is a business, and they're in it to make money, or at least the executives are, and those are the people who are making the decisions. And again, we'll talk more about the executives in a little bit. But if it's
also too, I'm not sure if there's any sort of. Oh, okay. I'll just come out and say it. I feel like in the West, like, business could be very easily viewed as like a slimy sort of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, second guessing things that are announced in business related stuff. Like, oh, you know, they're saying this, so I wonder what really is going on, sort of thing. And I don't know if non-Western ideologies toward business are similar in that way, because, like,
yeah, I don't know.
It's just different. I know it's just different, just as a basis, but I don't know if they think like, oh, like, you know, companies are like trying to like take advantage of things and stuff like that, you know. So I have no idea what to think, like if there's something nefarious going on behind the scenes, or
I don't know. I feel like Japanese people are quite what's the word for it? Quite vigilant. And quite just intelligent in general. So, like just a lot of things that kind of make me feel like that. Like, for example, and what I mean by that is, like, I feel like they're more likely to see things the way they really are rather than
like they're more transparent.
Yeah, and not that the companies are necessarily transparent, but more like Japanese people would be able to see through something that isn't transparent, you know?
Yes.
Compared to Westerners or Americans at the very least.
Right. And so, like, that was my presumption, but it is just solely based on what, like, shit I see on TV.
Yeah.
Through fictionalized Japanese stuff. Like,
yeah, well, there's that as well, but what I was talking about was, like, as an example of the sort of fairness and sort of, you know, I guess I can't really think of a better word right now than vigilance of Japanese people. It's like, if you remember when Logan Paul did all that horrible shit in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot of people talking about it. Obviously, literally everyone was pissed. Obviously, at least here in, like, Western YouTube. But, you know, there's other people like Yuta. I don't know if you've ever seen his videos, but he does a lot of like, and also I can't remember what their name is, but there's plenty of groups that basically all they do is go around to random civilians in Asia and ask them questions about current news or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
People who do stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. And a lot of the people, when they were asked about what Logan Paul did, they're like, yeah, that's horrible. And then people would ask, like, even in the comments as well, but also you'd see people in the video saying this as well, like, from Japan or whatever. People would ask, like, does this change how you think about, like, what type of people Americans are? And, like, most of them, or at least the ones that I saw, it could have been cherry picking from the editor's part, but you know, I'd still say there was a lot of people, you know, worth saying that, like, they were like, no, you know, one person doesn't represent a whole country, you know. When, you know, that, first of all, that's a very nice, I'm glad they're vigilant enough to see it that way. And also it's like it's very nice of them to give the rest of us the benefit of the doubt and know that it's just this one cunt doing everything horrible.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember there was one that they were like, I forget who it was, but it was like how would you describe Americans? And they were like loud but friendly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, that's better than saying like gun toting, you know, racist fuckers. Like,
yeah. So yeah, I feel like if, say, Square or any other company was not being transparent about something, I think Japanese people are intelligent enough to know that there might be something else going on that they're not knowing about or haven't been told about.
right.
So yeah, that's just how I could be wrong, and I know not everybody is as intelligent as each other, but I feel like they're pretty wise when it comes to I guess just in general, you know. I feel like that's just kind of their culture, you know. So. But anyway, back to like the original point.
Thanks.
So Tabata resigned, even though basically the way I see it, he was partially fired for being like, you know, I guess not finishing the game fast enough, according to.
Oh, really?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's for sure. That's what I think. I think
Was
basically
he,
what I'm
was
saying.
he fired or forced to leave, or like?
That's exactly the question. It says they claim that he resigned, and he said, "I'm resigning."
Right,
but the thing
that
is,
could have been like.
yeah,
hey.
I think what they were what Square's executive said was like, okay, you're taking too long and using up too much of our money, so you need to either just somehow miraculously speed things up or just stop this altogether. And at that point, like, Tabata had said multiple times in the past, like at conventions or just online or whatever, or even I assume to his superiors as well, that he doesn't, like, he's been on the 15 project for a while, you know. And he wants to go work on his own shit, like stuff that's not 15. Because I don't know if you remember this, but 15 is actually, originally, it was called Versus 13, and it was a project created by and written by Tetsuya Nomura. He's the director of the Kingdom Hearts series.
Yeah.
And he's also been the character designer ever since FF7. Or possibly earlier than that. But like, you know, regardless, famous motherfucker. But because he's the director of Kingdom Hearts, you know, he had to, work on Kingdom Hearts 3, which is coming out real soon, which also took forever to come out. But, you know, he had designed Versus 13. Well, I say design. He started designing Versus 13, and, you know, Nomura is a bit of a perfectionist, so he takes a really long time to make games. But, you know, the thing is, his games are typically accepted to be pretty quality stuff, so, you know,
We can win if we stay
essentially it's kind of like how Bethesda does the Elder Scrolls. Like, it takes a long time for these games to come out, but when they do come out, you're getting a good product, you know.
Right.
But I mean, FF fans are not a patient people, and a lot of them and on top of that, a lot of them are not irrational people, so I mean, you could say that about most of the gaming industry, but from what I've gathered, it's particularly prevalent with this fandom. But, you know, regardless of that, either way, you know, I guess the executive said, alright, we need you to focus on Kingdom Hearts 3 because we need that shit coming out. And then, well, either way, just to round off my point before we get more into what Nomura was doing, basically, you know, a lot of, because this fandom is so vocal and shit, I can completely guarantee that Tabata was receiving, like, I mean, you could say this about a lot of famous people who do, like, popular things like directors in Hollywood or whatever, but I can guarantee you he was getting a lot of, like, shit from fans, quote-unquote fans.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, just think of all the people who hate every Final Fantasy that isn't something that came out after
and the people
2002.
too that are like upset with something are the most vocal, even though they might be in the minority.
Yeah, that's also true, you know, and that gets to you, you know. I think Tabata speaks English. I'm not completely sure. He was at a convention, and also something that's pretty funny. If you want to watch, if you want to look this up. There's like a video, somebody made like a montage on a video montage on YouTube of Pez saying that he's like, I'm gonna hug this man, like in different places, and then the video ends with playing, I think it's either the Promise from 13 or Wish from 13-2, and he actually hugs him at a convention.
Was he very receptive or no?
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, he was there for Tabata was there for like for fan purposes, you know, to like talk to fans.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that, but like,
and like to
some
take pictures
are,
with people
like,
and everything.
I don't want to like hug them.
Hardly worth the effort.
No, I feel like you know, game developers have a lot of Western fans.
Gonna hug this man.
And you know, I don't know. Anyway, he was perfectly fine with it, obviously, 'cause, you know, he's hugging everybody and taking pictures and shit, so it was perfectly fine. But, you know, it was just... Well, and basically, the only reason I really found out about this was because Pez reacted to the news on stream. And I happened to be awake at the time, so I just watched it. And, like, he was... Pez, in particular, was fucking destroyed by that. Because he really likes... Tabata's games. So yeah, and actually Pez, I don't know if people know this, but Pez's favorite Final Fantasy is Type 0. I really enjoyed that game, actually, which is something else we can talk about. Long story short, Type Next is kind of fucked now, because that was also Tabata's project.
Oh shit.
And now he's gone. So
well, so that's so interesting, because it wasn't long ago, there was like maybe a month ago, that kind of like the opposite happened in the gaming industry with Telltale Games. Did you hear about that?
Well, I heard that they went bankrupt.
Yeah, but they were overworking their staff too.
Oh, were they? Okay, I didn't hear about that. I'm
So
not really
it
a
was...
Telltale fan, so I didn't really know all the details.
No, well, I mean, I just follow, like, my Twitter feed was just filled with it. And, like, they were working their staff when they didn't have money.
Oh, wow. That's pretty shitty.
And they were overworking them to get the product done. So it's... like, it got to a point where like people were putting 100-hour work weeks when like the typical work week is 40.
Yeah.
And like they were really overworking their staff to the point of which where, you know, they like weren't eating well, they couldn't like see their families as much.
Jesus.
And stuff like
By the way, it is pretty worth it to get a preemptive strike here because these guys give pretty good Christogen, and because they're essentially Ravagers, they don't have a lot of HP, so you can, with a preemptive, you can fuck these guys over really easily. So I'd say it's worth it to wait like a minute or something for a preemptive. But yeah, go back to what you were saying.
I'm trying to find toxic management. Wow. But it was just, yeah, like people were saying, like, you know, don't ever brag about, you know, doing all-nighters because
then it gets romanticized, yeah, and then it becomes commonplace in any industry, you know. It's terrible. I wonder if that's what happened to Japan, just like over time.
I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened.
Oh, watch this. I'm gonna just fucking pinball my way around these enemies for the preemptive, and then just blitz right in the middle.
Out of my way.
There we go. Actually, Quake would be really good here if you don't manage to hit all of them with a with blitz. But I think I did get all of them. Yeah, just keep blitzing. Hope we'll stagger them, and Fang will go after everybody that hopefully you can't go for. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So last year, Telltale had laid off a quarter of its staff. Mainly developers.
Yeah.
And then, they were doing up to 20 hours of work a day, so more than 100 hours a week.
Wow. Wait, did you say 20 hours a day?
Yeah.
Where is Telltale based? What country are they from? Because like I could unfortunately believe that if like I could really understand that if that was Japan, like because like that sounds exactly like Japan. But I thought they were more of a Western company. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
They are San Francisco.
Jesus, yeah. That's even more shocking because it's not. Well, I mean, it is not that people don't work overtime here anyway, but like that's pretty ridiculous for. Oh shit. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, but that's pretty ridiculous, especially for like the West.
And there is a lot of
like fuck me, that's nuts actually. Fuck, I didn't get it. Sometimes if you touch the enemies, that initiates battle, but if you're outside of the the zone, their area, and you touch them, oh fuck. I'm gonna keep retrying until I get the preemptive because I just don't want to deal with this shit. But I do want the Christogen. It's like 500 Christogen for these battles, which is pretty good. Man, these guys turn around so fast. Yeah, fuck you. Okay. Again, absolutely worth it. Because the preemptive makes everything a million times easier. Like, it's nuts. But yeah.
Yeah, this was for their Walking Dead game.
Yeah. Did they still release that, right? That like a recent thing?
But like the thing was that like a lot of people were unsure of like what to do. Like, do they go support the game
Yeah, that's a
when
really
it
hard one,
comes
isn't it?
out.
That's a super hard
Because like
decision.
a lot of developers are on Twitter like saying like, yeah, I'm unemployed now
Uh-huh.
because my company went bankrupt and
Well, hopefully,
they overworked us too.
yeah, hopefully what
Yeah.
happens is other companies such as Bethesda or, you know, maybe Ubisoft. I mean, Ubisoft isn't amazing, but like at least they treat their employees right.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully other companies like them recognize, because that's what happened with the dude from Sega. What was his name? Maybe you could look up his name real quick.
From Sega.
The guy from Sega who now works for
Dude.
Square Enix. I can't remember his
Okay.
name, but he was a programmer.
Yeah. Square.
And this was like a couple months ago. And it was like pretty big news because he's a pretty famous
Yui
developer.
Naka?
Yuji Naka, I think, is that his name?
Yuji Naka?
Yeah. Is there not a treasure chest up there? Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, he used to work at Sega. But something you gotta know about this guy is that at heart he's a developer. And he's programmed most of the Sonic games that most of us are happily familiar with. Like Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, which are both, I mean, they have their issues, especially in hindsight, but like, you gotta really give Sega credit for the stuff they programmed, because like, they really were entrepreneurs of like high technology, because like back in the 90s and the early 2000s, having games that run incredibly fast, and I don't know if you remember this, but their whole like marketing campaign was the whole blast processing thing. Like how we can run games super fast and like still have it run well, and that's all thanks to Yuji. Not all of it, but like a lot of that is thanks to Yuji Naka. And like he's kind of like the Iwata.
It's gotta be Sonic Fast.
He's like the Iwata of Sega. Do you know who Iwata is? The guy who died recently from Nintendo.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's like the guy who's responsible for what's it called? The only thing that, well, he did a lot of shit obviously, which was amazing. But the thing that I, as somebody who's played a lot of Pokemon, and like that's kind of one of the only things from Nintendo that I care about is Pokemon and Star Fox. So the way I know him is that he was the guy who compressed Gen 2, so Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, compressed it so well that it could actually include a sort of like pseudo remake of Gen 1 in it. So like he essentially made the game twice as, in terms of content, twice as big, but still keep everything there and still keep it looking amazing and running well. So yeah, so Yuji Naka from Sega is kind of like the Iwata. He's kind of like Sega's Iwata, and now he works for Square Enix, because basically what happened to him was Naka rose through the ranks at Sega, and he found that the higher you go up the chain, the less work you actually do, when that's really all he wanted to do. Is all he wanted to do was just program, because that was his shit. And he found himself eventually dissatisfied because they didn't really let him program, because they wanted him to do like, he became more of a money man, which he didn't really give a fuck about. He just wanted to make games, you know.
Right.
And so eventually he retired from Sega, and now I guess he's working for Square. Let me check what time it is again. We're almost at like the sort of mini boss, I guess you could call it, of this area.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of hard to decide. There's a few treasure chests around here, but we don't. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of hard to decide what to go for here. I guess I'll.
As far as like stopping or.
Oh fuck. No, just like what. I feel like we can get to the boss, I guess. Well, we don't have to fight the boss this time, actually, but like, because the boss is actually pretty fast. It's a pretty easy boss in my opinion, because it's kind of like a mini boss.
Okay.
So just trying to decide which enemies would be best to go for here. Just gonna do my best to... Oh,
To
fuck.
sneak up on them.
This is so hard. Maybe I would be better off fighting the Vespers. I think I could get this guy. There we go. Oh yeah, but basically, something kind of similar to what happened with Tabata probably happened with, or to Naka probably happened to Tabata, to the point where he was like, they're really pressing me to make this game that I don't honestly give too much of a shit about, and they're rushing me, and there's just a lot of money involved that doesn't seem to be going anywhere too fast. And, you know, apart from all this shit that I have to do with, what I really want to do is just make my own games. And that's exactly what Square didn't let him do.
Yeah.
Because they were like, no, we want you to make more money on the cash cow that is our most recent Final Fantasy game. Which, you know, I can understand, but at the same time, you need to give developers some space and give, you know, more importantly, give them, like, what they need, because there's no game without them, you know? So you really need to... If you have to bend over for anybody, you should probably be bending over for your developers, because they're kind of the most important part of the team when it comes to video games. So... And it's not really that, like, anybody's more important than anybody else, but... You know, it's just... I really find it's just complete bullshit that so many companies, executives, are willing to just fuck over developers for just like it's nothing, you know? Like, the same thing happened with Konami, and it was disgusting there, like, as well. Like, everyone hated Konami for that. And, like for me personally, I made a list, like, just a little bit arbitrarily, because I knew they weren't going to do shit, but, like, and I'm not even, like, a popular entertainer in general, but, like, still, I just, like, for reference sake, I made a list of things that Konami would have to do to get my, like, to earn my respect again, among other things, like, you know, have the, like, the CEO or president step down, because clearly this shit ain't working. And, you know, they didn't, not only did they not do any of that, but, like, just everything they did was fucking terrible, honestly. And now they're trying to win people back and everything with, like, Castlevania, like, re-releases and cartoons on Netflix or whatever. Or the anime. I don't know if you heard about that. It was a while ago.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just me personally, I'm never buying a Konami game ever again unless, like, management shifts dramatically.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to boycott.
And I don't know, I feel like some people are kind of forgetting about all the horrible shit that Konami pulled 3 years ago. And that kind of bothers me, like, as somebody who's an artist myself, you know.
Right. It's, yeah, the consumer drives the future of the business.
And, like, just really in terms of everything they did, I was not okay with a single thing that they did during that time. So, like, that is, like, just hardcore, not a company I can support. So, yeah. Like, there's no other way to put it, honestly. It's just, they fucked up. Oh, I need to use a potion. I really should have used solidarity here. Oh, just kill it. But yeah, anyway, back to Tabata. It's likely a cross between he wanted to resign because he was sick of working for these fucks, and also because they, you know, they wanted to blame somebody for their predicted loss, and
Right.
we're just feeling like shit was taking too long with 15, so they're just like, no, I think you're done, basically. Which is just like I didn't really like 15, honestly, but like I'm not one of those sons of bitches who just complains. I'm not one of those assholes who is just like, oh my god, finally, fuck Tabata and fuck 15, you know. No, I people were into that game, you know, and I'm sad for them, and you know, it's a shitty situation, like, no matter how you look at it. And really only I think only like an asshole would disagree with that. I mean,
Yeah, I would agree.
a dude literally got fired pretty much. So yeah, so now he's independent, possibly working on his new, possibly pulling a Kojima and
Focused.
doing his own studio, possibly. So
Yeah, I wonder if he does do that, how many people he would follow him from.
well, a lot of people followed Kojima. I feel like
Thanks.
because the Final Fantasy fanbase is so volatile, I feel like a lot of people are not gonna. I think it depends on what the game, the quality of the game, and like what it looks like in terms of his future projects. But you know, it's really,
Thanks.
it's up in the air. I don't know. I hope it does well. I hope whatever he's doing next is good and he's happy with it. So yeah.
Thank you.
But then there's also just like on top of that, just in terms of how this affects Square Enix. Square Enix only has a few. If you really want to look it up, you can look up like on Wikipedia or whatever, Square Enix business divisions. They don't have too many. Each one is run by a director,
Okay.
and
Thanks.
a lot of them are busy. Just long story short, the only one that I can think might not be busy is the guy who made Nier Automata. What's his name?
Thank you.
I can't remember. But that guy's probably not. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's busy or whatever. But like, in terms of like who can direct the next Final Fantasy game,
Okay.
that could be him.
Sure.
I definitely. A lot of people. And speaking of which, I hate it when there's so many people who blame directors, and we mentioned this a bit earlier, but there's so many Final Fantasy fans, or quote-unquote fans, who just blame the directors for everything, and I'm just like, you're really barking up the wrong tree there. And like, it's so obvious, like, it's, to me, like somebody who does the research, and like, it doesn't even take much, honestly. Clearly the only reason Final Fantasy fans blame directors for shit that they don't like is because those are the only names they know. You know? Those are the only names they were given. When really, if you have a problem with something that's going on in Square Enix, it's not the director's fault, it's the executive's fault. Because the directors often don't decide what to do, they just kind of make sure that shit goes according to plan. You know? So it really pisses me off when people complain about directors like, oh my god, fuck this director because this game turned out in this way. I mean, it is possible, obviously, that something bad that happened or whatever is the director's fault. Yeah, it is possible. But it's just, a lot of the time it's not their fault. It's more the director's fault, like for the way a game is, just in like the basic design of the game, you know? Or the way it was released, or the way the DLC was handled, or shit like that. A lot of that shit just isn't their fault. So... oh fuck, please tell me. Hey, I'm glad Lightning has raise. But yeah. And a lot of people blame Nomura for Kingdom Hearts. Hell, even some people... Oh, fuck me. Some people are dumb enough to think that Nomura had a lot to do with 13. Even though that's really far from the truth. He wasn't the director. I don't even think he was the producer. He was the character designer, but that's true of most Final Fantasy games. He's usually the character designer anyway. So I don't know. It's just I really hate the people who blame Nomura for shit like that. And also, again, Versus 13, which became 15, used to be Nomura's project. So a lot of people blame Nomura for the fact that the game, or at least the game's story, ended up a mess. But like, it's not his fault. He had Kingdom Hearts 3 to work on, you know? So yeah, it just, I don't know. Just people's poor research or lack thereof really pisses me off, honestly.
And people are so
They're
quick
so
to blame.
They jump to
someone.
conclusions. They're quick to blame people for shit they don't like. They're quick
And
to,
they want someone to attach the blame to.
yeah, and they just like anyone they can. They're like fucking. And again, this isn't exclusive to Final Fantasy. It's just extremely prevalent in this fan base. Like, it's also true of Bethesda, and it's also true of... I feel like it's also kind of true of Ubisoft, but to be fair, Ubisoft does make some pretty stupid decisions sometimes. But the difference is Ubisoft always apologizes, and they always try to make up for the mistakes they make. So I actually have a lot of respect for them as a company. There's no save point here, but you know what? Thanks to Pup, I think I know how to kick this boss's ass really easily. So I think we actually got here a little bit faster than I expected. So if I just make sure I pay good attention during this boss, we could probably like piss through this really fast. So we need to heal Hope. Okay. But yeah, it's just, it sucks. And then, you know, a lot of people blame Nomura for the fact that the FF7 remake is taking forever, and to be fair, I agree that they announced it way too early, but guess what? Even Nomura agrees with that. So anybody who thinks that it's Nomura's fault that they announced it too early or that it's taking too long, well, guess what? It's really not his fault. I mean, it might be a little bit his fault because we know he's a perfectionist and he likes to take his time making sure a project is good rather than just releasing some fast shit, you know?
Right.
Do I need to level up? I could do. Okay. But yeah, so, and then something else that I feel like a lot of people don't know, but they should know, is, you know how he's directing the FF7 remake? Yeah, he didn't know that from the start. Square Enix kind of just dropped that shit right on him. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're doing a meeting within the company," and they showed they showed that trailer that you saw like live at E3, and when they showed that internally, like in an internal business meeting, and they saw like director Tetsuya Nomura. That's when he found out that he was the director.
Oh my gosh! Yikes!
So, it's just a clusterfuck over at Square Enix.
Yeah, it's like not streamlined at all.
They really fuck up management, like really badly. So,
Ugh.
yeah, like I look at that and I'm like, fuck. I feel so bad for Nomura, you know? Because like even before, he's just always had a ton of shit to deal with. because of like all his projects, and he takes a long time, and he's like kind of a perfectionist, obviously. All right, let's fucking blitz the fuck out of this boss. There's no treasure here, so oh god, I hope I didn't miss anything. I hope I didn't. Okay. Here we go. But yeah. So basically, hopefully, so Square likes to, my point is, Square likes to put most of their shit on Nomura for some reason. If they decide to stick 16 on him, I really think he's gonna do the same thing that Tabata did and just straight up quit. Honestly.
Yeah, it sounds like they're not respecting him.
Yeah, I feel like he's really approaching his breaking point, honestly. Like, for real, I feel like, honestly, after his,
New strategy.
after he's done with Kingdom Hearts 3 and after he's done with FF7 Remake, I feel like he just needs to take a vacation.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't get that, I think he might just really fall victim to the bullshit at Square Enix. So again, if you have any problems with the management or the timing or the DLCs or any shit like that, it's not the director's fault or the producer's fault. It's the executive's fault. They're really the only ones that are to blame for all this. So and then, you know, like I said, if anything else is stuck on Nomura after this, then he's absolutely fucked. Like, just, like, full stop. Oh my god.
Wait, so do you have to fight this thing again?
Yeah. Oh my god, Fang, please stick slow. I feel so cheated. Pup got Fang to like land slow within the first 2 turns. Oh fuck, we are definitely fucked here.
Oh no.
Oh, I forgot that's a single target move. Alright.
For another approach.
But yeah. What else was I gonna say about this? Oh, anyone who thinks that FF16 is any closer now because Tabata was fired and or 15 is like put to an end here, you are dead ass wrong, because that studio that he used to run is still working on their own shit. They're very unlikely to be working on FF16. So if you think that anything has been pushed up the line because of this recent news, you are completely wrong.
Yeah, I honestly feel that there's like a lot to clean up.
That's true. Yeah, that's also true.
After something like that.
Yeah, it's like bouncing back after that. It's not an easy task.
Not only with like the game itself and things about the game, you know, like maybe picking up slack from somebody else and et cetera, but just the whole like morale of the company. You have to.
Oh yeah, that's as well. Yeah, that's true as well. All right, there we go. That was pretty fast. Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're coming close to the end of this part. That was the mini-boss. So now we just got this final section here, and then the boss at the end of it. Yeah, battle team formation. You can change the composition of your battle team, but you can't change the leader, because Square really wants you to know that Lightning's the main character. So yeah, we're gonna probably end it right here for today. I'll change my party next time. But yeah. Oh shit. I think that's about all I had to say about Tabata and
Yeah,
you know,
it
all that
sucks
shit.
that all that's happening.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. I'm really, again, really sad for Tabata and all of his fans and all 15 fans. But you guys are still getting the Arden DLC, so that's pretty cool. It looks nice. Yeah. Sad stuff, but also don't forget that if you have 13 or any of the 13 trilogy games on the 360, you can now play them on the Xbox One or the Xbox One X with enhancements. So that's pretty bitchin'. Hopefully we still get that remaster next year for PS4, or at least like a fucking port or something. It doesn't need a remaster, honestly, but just a port or a bundle or some shit, you know, would be nice. So yeah, I think that's about it. Let me just look at the things I wrote down in case there was something else I wanted to say about the 15 news.
I feel like you got it all.
Yeah, so yeah, and also, speaking of which, if you had a problem with the way 15 was directed, just in general, like the way the game went, it's unlikely that 16 is going to be better unless the executives learned their lesson. And, I mean,
True.
that's really up in the air whether they did or not. So, you know.
It almost seems like the higher up the person is, the like harder it is to move mountains.
Yeah, kind of. So yeah, there you go. And then the other thing we mentioned was Type Next, which is the sequel to Type 0, which they teased at the end of the Type 0 remaster, which was really badass. Where like Ace is wearing the samurai armor and shit like that, and he gets revived by the Vermilion Bird or Phoenix or whatever you want to call it.
Caw.
Yeah, that which so many people were looking forward to it might be kind of fucked, because that was Tabata's project. That he wanted the Type series to be like kind of a little series but on its own of Final Fantasy, you know. And I was looking forward to that because I really enjoyed Type 0 and especially its battle system. But to be fair, a lot of the people, like for example, Square recently has been talking about a possible 10-3 or a sequel to 10-2. And a lot of the people who worked on 10 aren't with the company anymore, but they're still thinking about doing this, so the same thing could be true of Type Next. So it's up in the air, but likely pushed back even more because of this, so yeah. Kinda a lot of bad news, a lot of good news, and by good news I mean the 13 on backwards compatibility.
Yeah, that's
and
like
shit
a
like that.
good thing.
Oh yeah, also Yuna was introduced as the 5th Season Pass character for Dissidia NT, so that was fun. It's a really good... She has a really cool moveset, so if you want to check that out, go check Square's Japanese channel. I guess it would also be on the Final Fantasy channel on YouTube. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then 2 months from now we'll be getting Snow. So that's exciting to see how he's going to play, and what he's going to look like. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully, again, we'll be back next week on Wednesday at the same time, 3 p.m. All the daylight saving stuff is over with now, so back to the standard time. So again, that's 3 p.m. Central, U.S. time. That's when we hope to stream again next week.
Hooray!
So yeah, hopefully another like maybe 2 parts, and we'll be done with our little soiree with 13. So yeah, so that's about it. Thanks for joining us, guys. And that's about it from us. So we'll see you guys hopefully next week on the stream. So we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.